Hello, everybody, and today I'm talking about Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Season 3. I've been a bit behind, but let's talk about Season 3. I'm going to go in chronological order. I'm going to try to go fast with some of these reviews, since I don't want this video to be too long. But anyway, the first episode, since we're in chronological order, is Corruption. So this episode's fine. It's an episode where Padme and Satine team up to uncover a conspiracy going on in Mandalore. It has the least amount of the characters we're familiar with, and it's nice to see the dynamic between Padme and Satine since they're both senators, and I just feel their chemistry has the friendship that they have, and it's more shown when they uncover that one of the governors of Mandalore is putting stuff in the food or water supply of that's causing the citizens of Mandalore to get poisoned, and they're able to uncover this conspiracy. And I think that's that episode. So yeah, this episode was fine. It wasn't my favorite, but it was a different start to season 3. Not something you expect to see in season 3. But the next episode is the Academy, where Padme and Ahsoka go to this academy, and Ahsoka trains these Condents of Mandalore, and we see more of their dynamic as they're trying to uncover another conspiracy. So yeah, this episode was also fine. It shows that Ahsoka was willing to teach others lessons. She could be a good mentor too, just like Anakin. And I think they even take away her lightsaber, I don't know, just for precautionary reasons. So yeah, there's a few episodes where Ahsoka has to not use her lightsabers. And as for the kids, I think their dynamic is cool. It's too bad we don't see them again. I'm gonna randomly say this, but there's this conspiracy theory that one of the nephews of Satine is Obi-Wan's son or something. But that's a wild theory. But I don't think it's true. But yeah, this episode was also fine. This episode I actually think is a lot better. Assassination, where Ahsoka is having visions of Padme dying. It's not like the ones in Revenge of the Sith, but instead, it's a Padme getting assassinated, but was revealed to be Aurra Sing. But Padme ends up getting shot, during one of her Senate speeches, and Ahsoka almost was freaking out about it, but Padme ends up just getting an injured arm, but we know Padme is gonna be fine. But what they actually do is they use one of the robots to disguise herself as Padme, and Padme's hiding in one of the rooms, but Aurra Sing's hiding in the vent, and and she tries to assassinate her, but Ahsoka ends up defeating her, and they're gonna find out why they went after Padme, and this is because Zero the Hutt, who's still in prison, is plotted this scheme because she wants revenge on Padme all the way for what she did, got her arrested back in the Clone Wars movie. So this episode is very interesting. It kind of pays homage to the premonitions Anakin had in Revenge of the Sith a little, and it's nice to see that Ahsoka has a heart towards Padme, since those two have bonded really well, and this episode really shows their bond. But the next episode is ARC Troopers. So if you watch this out of chronological order, you'll see Clone Condents, where we see the various characters Heavy, who died in that episode, but he's some reason in that episode. But then in this episode, that we think he's dead. It made the continuity so confusing, but because this show's out of order, and I don't know why. But this episode is where Kamino's getting invaded by Ventress and General Grievous, and it's up to Captain Rex and Fives and Echo to take them down. And this episode was a lot of fun. We also get a farewell to the character 99, who bravely sacrifices himself against the battle of droids. And we also see the tragic death of Commander Colt, who is force choked to death by Ventress, and she stabs him and it's quite sad of a scene. I'm not gonna lie, but we do get some cool lightsaber fights with Obi-Wan and Grievous on the planet, and Anakin versus Ventress, of course. And because Anakin can't meet Grievous, he doesn't see Grievous in this episode. So this episode was really good. We see like Fives and Echo really step it up and show themselves as the brave soldiers that they are, and that's what gets them ranked up to like ARC troopers, and that's what happens. They become ARC troopers, and we see more on their side in the Citadel arc. So yeah, this episode was really good. I don't remember too much of why they invaded Kamino, since I'm having this vague memory, but this episode was definitely a lot of fun. But the next episode is the Spear of Influence. This episode's fine. It's where we do see Greedo. So Greedo from New Hope, who gets shot by Han Solo. But we don't see Han Solo, but we see these blue aliens who were actually based off George Lucas and his daughter, who made a cameo in Revenge of the Sith. It's where she's captured by the Separatist, and this guy, I forget his name, sorry, sends Ahsoka to go find her. I think they do find her, and they track down Greedo and arrest him. And we do see Jabba the Hutt, which was cool, and we see Rada. I think this is Rada's last appearance in the show, even though he was just randomly in it. We don't know what happened to Rada, and people keep asking, what happened to Rada the Hutt? We don't know. I hope we see him again, though. But this episode was fun. But the next episode is probably my least favorite episode of the show. It's a silly episode of R2-D2 and C-3PO, but it does lead into this cool arc of Cad Bane and Zero the Hutt. It's where R2 and 3PO are sent to get these things for a cake for a senator that Anakin sends them to the undercity of Coruscant. So it's cool that we see the underworld of Coruscant. We see like what life is like under there, but mainly R2 and C-3PO are randomly captured by Cad Bane and his little droid, and they're tortured for some reason. But he really just wanted the way to sneak into the Coruscant base. So we know how Cad Bane sneaks into the Coruscant base, which leads to the next episode. So this episode kind of just feels like a setup episode. But it was also cool seeing R2 go through the little spa thing, and R2 looks super shiny. Because, I don't know, this is a weird nitpick, but, like, R2 looked kind of different in this show. Like, he looks a little kind of different than how he usually looks in the movies. But once he gets shined up, he looks how he looks in the movies, which is wild. But, yeah, it's cool to see R2 and 3PO, I guess. Just having some fun little adventure. Even though they get their minds swapped, their minds wiped from just that moment. So they don't, it's like the whole thing was pointless, but they end up giving the cake to the senator. And yeah, Anakin's, I guess, somewhat impressed, but not really. But that's where it leads to the next episode, Hostage Crisis, where Anakin and Padme are exploring their relationship a little. But he decides to give her lightsaber to see how heavy it is, but they're interrupted by Bail Organa causing Padme to hide the lightsaber. But Padme is called to a meeting, but meanwhile, during all this, Cad Bane has sent his goons to take down the people on Coruscant. And this level's in like the Lego Star Wars free game. That was probably my favorite level, where you can disguise yourself as one of the Senate guards, and he manages to take them all out, and they manage to get all the senators hostage, and he puts like a laser beam gate, and he threatens that if they don't release Zero the Hutt, he will kill all the senators, and he even locks all the doors. But it's all up to Anakin Skywalker, who has to fight about a lightsaber, and he manages to take out most of the bounty hunters, but he ends up getting taken out and put into the room where Cad Bane threatens to just blow them up. But they manage to free Zero the Hutt and escape, but Anakin manages to wake up, and Padme's little diversion with the lightsaber is like, hey, Master Skywalker, you dropped this or something. And Bail almost caught Padme because they don't want to know that they're in a relationship. And Bale almost found out by being like, "Hey, why do you have a Jedi's lightsaber?" But Anakin manages to cut open a hole in the nick of time, and that's the episode. So that episode was very engaging, very intense, raises the stakes for how cold of a person Cad Bane is, and we see how badass he is. Since this was technically in season 1, but since we're in chronological order, this is one of the episodes where it leads to the Hunt for Zero arc, which leads to another cool episode. I think I made a video about this a while back, where I talk about Obi-Wan and Quinlan Vos, where they team up to track down Zero the Hutt and Cad Bane, and they managed to do so. But it turns out, we see that one girl, one of the singers from Return of the Jedi, who manages to go with Zero for something, and then she ends up betraying Zero and shoots her so she can get all certain money for herself. But Obi-Wan and Quinlan manage to track down Zero, but they find she's dead. And that's where they, by coincidence, meet up with Cad Bane, and they get into this very cool fight with him. And we see Quinlan Vos and with his cool lightsaber, and Cad Bane manages to take Quinlan's lightsaber, and he gets into a short lightsaber duel with Obi-Wan, which was cool. But Cad Bane manages to get away and get paid by Jabba the Hutt, and Obi-Wan and Quinlan manage to hang on to the ledge, and Obi-Wan's like, "Oh, I really don't like working with you." And some people complain about this episode because they think it contradicts the EU, but then again, this show's doing its own thing. I kind of want to make a video about whole Clone Wars and EU thing, but maybe we'll get into that in the future. But some people complain because Quinlan Vos was an undercover guy, and he was he became one of Dooku's servants, but that was the EU. But the Clone Wars is, like I said, it's doing its own thing, and they're saying this is character assassination for Quinlan. I'm not really viewing it like that, since this is his really only appearance in the show. He was going to be in Dark Disciple, but they turned that into a book. But anyway, maybe he'll be in the Bad Batch, though. But the next episode is a really good episode. This is where we get the first new designs of Anakin and Ahsoka. It's where we find out that Padme's trying to do some political things at the Senate because they want to make a great change during this Clone Wars. But Ahsoka's now questioning why the Separatists are bad. But Padme manages to take Ahsoka on a little trip where it's revealed Padme's actually friends with the Separatists, but they're not part of the Separatists, like Count Dooku or General Grievous. But that's where we meet Lux. Ahsoka meets Lux, and I do like the scene where Ahsoka is oh, I'm not so bad, and then after seeing someone who's in the Republic, and then Lux is like, "Hey, I'm a Separatist. Do I look so bad?" So it shows that the Separatist is not as bad as the Republic, since even though they're both at war. Lux sees it as he doesn't want to pick sides. He wants to choose his own faction, and that's where it leads to one of the other episodes in season 4. But this episode was really good. We see a dynamic between Ahsoka, Lux, and it's really good, and gives a new perspective on the whole Clone Wars overall. But the next episode, I'm gonna go over it quickly. It's where I think Padme is involved in some conspiracy by bounty hunters who track her down and she's framed for something, and she's trying to not employ so many clones because she feels she doesn't want so many to die. So this episode was interesting with her and Bail Organa. Yeah. So that episode, not my favorite, but anyway, the Senate Murders episode, that was all the way in season 2. It's where we get this murder mystery where Osgra Fair, this guy, the Rodian, he ends up getting murdered by poisoning, and Padme is trying to investigate who committed this murder, and it turns out it's this girl. I forget her name, sorry. It turns out she killed him because of jealousy. over power or something, and it's like this cool murder mystery, and it's definitely a different side to Padme. So Padme's in this season a lot, which is really good, and I know I'm not really in the politics side of Star Wars, since mainly people criticize the politics of Star Wars, but it feels minimum in this show, which is I'm fine with. Like, I don't know, but like I said, I'll probably get more into the whole Star Wars and EU thing, but since this is kind of relevant to the some people thinking the Clone Wars doesn't hold up, but then again, the politics in Star Wars makes sense since Star Wars has always been political. But we see it more in like these episodes for sure. But the next episode, things get really interesting as we get an arc with Asajj Ventress, who is now she's got like her EU design, where she gets into this cool lightsaber duel with Anakin and Obi-Wan during a battle. But it turns out Darth Sidious wants Count Dooku to prove loyalty by betraying Asajj Ventress. And this is where people complain about the contradiction of the EU, where Ventress is with Dooku until the end of the Clone Wars. But they changed it up. But Ventress ends up getting almost blown up in one of the ships after the lightsaber duel. But Count Dooku basically proved his loyalty to Ventress. It's not like he wanted to betray her, but he basically was forced to. But Ventress ends up waking up, and we do learn about her backstory once she decides to go back to her homeworld, Dathomir. And that's where we're introduced to the Night Sisters. So the Night Sisters were really cool concepts of characters. I know they were in like the courtship of Princess Leia, but they're like, I like how the red designs. I like how different Dathomir looks in the world of like Mother Talzin and the magic. But she manages to have Ventress join her tribe, and we learn about her backstory, where Ventress used to be a Jedi, but her master was killed, just led her down to the dark path, and now Ventress is now part of the Night Sister clan. And that was a really interesting episode, and I liked their warrior designs. But it turns out the next episode is where we get the appearance of Savage Opress. It's where Savage Opress and his brother are put on like this contest where they only one who survives, the toughest, shall be recruited for a reason, because Count Dooku was attacked by Ventress. Mother Talzin basically sent Ventress and her Night Sisters to fight Dooku, try to assassinate him, and they do get into this lightsaber duel where they poison him with a dart, but they manage to escape. But that's where it leads to Dooku wanting a new apprentice, and they basically train these Night Brothers, who are basically the species of Darth Maul, and we get all this culture, this backstory. It's really cool, and like Savage Opress is eventually chosen, but he is forced to kill his brother, which is sad. But Savage Opress is chosen and given basically magic to get all his brooding strength. But that's where it leads to his first test, where he has to kill a Jedi. That's where he encounters Jedi Huxley and Nux. And I've talked about them in the past. But Savage Opress manages to kill them mercilessly. Like, he didn't show any mercy, and he kills them with just a spear, and he manages to kill his entire clone squad. Like, it's tragic. But Savage manages to take over the temple they were at. But the next episode gets really interesting, where Dooku literally betrays Savage and Ventress after Savage fails a mission where he has to get one of the Transdojians, but he tries to he's stopped by Obi-Wan and Anakin, who tried their best, but Savage manages to capture the Transdojian, but he ends up killing him. And I felt so bad because he was all the way back in season 1, and they just kill him off. And Anakin and Obi-Wan tried their best, but they get into a cool lightsaber duel. But because Savage failed, Dooku ends up torturing Savage, that's what he did to try to have him unlock his dark sideness. But Savage manages to try to his best to take down Dooku, but he uses all his strength to take out both Ventress and Dooku after Ventress is trying to still hunt for revenge. And it was a very cool lightsaber fight with red lightsabers hitting each other, and Savage managed to escape, and Dooku manages to escape, and yeah, and that's that episode. So that was really good. It was a nice introduction to Savage Opress, who was basically like a more tough version of Darth Maul, and it leads to the next quest where he has to go find Darth Maul, and that's revealed Darth Maul's alive. So I can't wait to talk about Darth Maul for the next season. But the next episode is the Mortis arc. So the Mortis arc is definitely the weirder side of Star Wars, since we're introduced to the Wills. The father, the son, and the daughter. Don't ask who the mother is, but basically, they find this Homan beacon, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, and they get into some like trance-like world where they're in like this mystical world where they meet the daughter and they're introduced to this place, and it turns out that's where it becomes relevant to the whole Chosen One prophecy, where Anakin has to bring balance to the Force as the father is introduced to it. But that's where we get a few visions where Anakin sees his mother, and we see Obi-Wan sees Qui-Gon, literally played by Liam Neeson, and Ahsoka sees her older self, and it's quite interesting, and it shows that Obi-Wan was still willing to hear Qui-Gon say about the Chosen One if he's accepted Anakin as his apprentice, if he's doing well. And yeah, it looks like Obi-Wan was unsure about this Force vision of Qui-Gon, but it was quite nice to see Qui-Gon. And as for Anakin, he does see his mother, and there's this one moment where Dave Filoni got the whole Anakin's met Padme and his mother, and they don't know that Padme and him are married, and it was meant to be he was called up by Sam Witwer, who plays the son in this, and the son is basically, he kind of looks like the Inquisitor, but he's like a dark side god. But as this is going on, it turns out the son and daughter kidnap Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, and Anakin has to choose, but he manages to save both, and they can turn into these dragon creatures, the son and daughter, and it's quite weird. But the next episode, we get this where the son kidnaps Ahsoka, and when they're trying to escape the planet, but Ahsoka turns bad, and after she's bitten by literally the Mortis God. And that's where it leads to a duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan. But Obi-Wan learns that the only way to kill these ones is if they're stabbed by this special sword. And they get into this cool lightsaber duel. And Ahsoka says some creepy things about how if Anakin's proud. And Anakin's like, what? It's like, yeah, I'm proud of you, Ahsoka. And he's like, Ahsoka's talking in a very horror way for some reason. Weird comparison, I know, but they managed to I think the son tries to kill the father or something out of revenge, but the daughter steps in and she manages to get stabbed. But because the son manages to actually kill Ahsoka, and we thought this is the end, but this becomes relevant later in Star Wars with Ahsoka, where Anakin's able to transfer some of the daughter's power into Ahsoka, and that's why Ahsoka sees the owl in Rebels, Ahsoka, so it's very different. But the next episode is where Anakin is turned to the dark side, and he actually sees his vision. We see a glimpse of Darth Vader, we see him blowing up, him causing the death of Alderaan and Padme, and him falling to the dark side, and that's what he does. He falls to the dark side. And I thought he'd get into a duel with Obi-Wan on this sort of the lava area of Mortis, but what the father does at the last second before he is killed by Anakin and the son, he manages to switch Anakin back to the light side, and he manages to wipe his memory, Anakin ends up killing both of them, and all three of them end up passing out. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka, and they wake up like nothing happened. So this episode's very mysterious. It's very different. That's what I like about it. But the next episode is the Citadel arc, where Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka, but Anakin didn't want Ahsoka to come at first, where they're going on this dangerous mission to save Master Peel, who's been captured. And they managed to, with the help of R2, and they managed to get into carbonite. And yeah, this is how Anakin knows carbonite's okay. When years later, when Darth Vader had Han Solo be frozen in carbonite. But they managed to go to the Citadel, and it's very dangerous as their clones are falling to their death, and they're trying to stay away from this mining area. And they managed to go through a few trap doors, but once they find Master Peel, he's perfectly fine. But they also managed to rescue Captain Tarkin, who'd be revealed to be Grand Moff Tarkin. And yeah, this is very relevant, but like, it shows like how callous Tarkin is, since he doesn't really like the Jedi, since he feels they're in the wrong side of this whole war thing. And but he manages to almost get taken out by the main guy who tries to kill Captain Tarkin. I forget his name, but he manages to be killed by Ahsoka. And but like later in season 5, spoilers, where Ahsoka's on trial, it shows that Tarkin just does not care about Ahsoka even though he saved her. But we'll talk more of that when we get to season 5 of the show. But anyway. Yeah, the Citadel arc is quite interesting with like Tarkin, Master Peel, but Master Peel ends up dying by one of the wolves when they're attacked by a group of wolves. And I like how these characters are trying to go from one dangerous situation to the next until they all end up they don't have time to mourn Master Peel. They do like a small funeral for him. But Ahsoka did tell Master Peel that she lied just so she can go on the mission, and then Master Peel's like, it doesn't matter. You are an important part of this mission now. It was a nice conversation between the two. But they all managed to escape. And I do like the scene, I'm going to randomly say, but R2 has like these group of battle droids that help them get through the planet. And they end up sacrificing themselves. They're reprogrammed battle droids. But they all managed to escape. But they also lost Echo, who also came along with Fives, Rex, Cody. And Echo gets blasted off, and we think Echo's gone, but we all see him in the Bad Batch in season 7 of the show, which he's revealed to be alive. It's quite interesting. So this was an interesting arc, I gotta say. It was quite intense. I do like the scene at the end where Anakin does ask Plo Koon if Ahsoka was assigned to the mission, and I guess Plo Koon wanted to play along, not get Ahsoka in trouble. He's like, it appears I did. So yeah, the Citadel arc was really good. But the last 2 episodes is where Ahsoka is captured by the Trandoshans, like basically Boskus species, and we learn about their culture. I'm going to get through these episodes quick, but Ahsoka ends up getting captured after a battle. But she teams up with these group of lost Padawans who are captured. And one of them is shown to the dark side. Her name is Khalifa, but she ends up getting shot. And I do like the scene where like the Trandoshans blame Ahsoka for the death of their son, even though the son tried to attack Ahsoka, and he ends up falling to his death and he gets stabbed. And Ahsoka tells him that like it's your fault your son died by his stupidity. You got your own son killed, and yeah, she's so right. But later in the episode, it's revealed that they end up teaming up with, get this, Chewbacca. So I honestly forget Chewbacca's in this show, but it feels like, I don't know, it was such a weird thing to see like a Chewbacca in this show, but it was awesome too. But we learn about the war between Trandoshans and Wookiees, and they get into this big battle on this ship, and they have a final duel against the big Trandoshan guy, and he ends up dying, I'm pretty sure. And Ahsoka manages to get rescued finally after Anakin was searching. And Ahsoka tells Anakin that they managed to survive because of her training, his training towards her, and it ends with the two walking into the Republic Bay. So that was a really good episode. So the Clone Wars Season 3, I gotta say, it was really good, even though it was out of order. It was nice exploring, like, weirder sides to Star Wars, the Night Sisters, the Mortis arc, and the new designs, and Savage Opress is awesome. So those were the highlights of, like, the Clone Wars, and we see more different side to the Republic. And yeah, there were some alright episodes, but overall, I'd probably give season 3 a 7 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. So what do you think of the Clone Wars Season 3? I can't wait to review Season 4, which is in order, by the way. That's the only season that's in order. But anyway, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you always.